I'm Carolyn.
Carolyn, yeah, the Carolyn just introduced me, and she said a lot of nice things that But I'm going to tell you, I'm just a hard worker. I'm all my life. I've just found out when you apply hard work to almost anything, you will win. And whether it be police work or building a business or whatever, it takes grit, and you have to go out there and go get it. And so that's just one thing I brought to the table was hard work, and that's why I've had success in a police career. I've had success in business as well, and I just say all that just to say that's how I got here. It's just a really exciting time. But today is not even about me. Today's more about you. I have some great information, and I have a story that I would like to tell you. So everything she said is true. I was an undercover cop in Las Vegas. I did a lot of crazy, seen a lot of crazy. In fact, most of you watch it on TV, where I actually lived it. I was undercover at a gypsy wedding, and I ended up arresting the father of the groom at the wedding. And people were like, "Oh my God, did you really do that?" Yes, I really did do that. But he totally deserved it. And if I had more time, I would tell you the whole story. About $10,000 worth of drugs from the Mexican cartel once upon a time in the parking lot of a hotel in Las Vegas, and many, many, many more stories. I could tell you a lot of crazy stuff, but today's not about that. Today's about podcasting and why you need one. Now, can you remind me very briefly, Julie, how much time do I have here? Because I want to make sure to respect everyone's time and not go long.
I have you on until about a half hour, till 12:15, and then there's time for a Q&A, but we probably will have more time than we usually do at our face-to-face luncheon, so I think you're okay on time.
Okay, good. Well, I just want to make sure to respect everyone's time. So short answer is yeah. So here's what I did. I started a side hustle when I was a police officer out of desperation back then, because my wife and I were caught up in 2008. I'm not sure how it was happening here in Texas, but I lived in Las Vegas, and I had two properties. One of my houses that I paid, was it $270,000 for? And by the time it got to 2009, it was worth $119,000, something like that, because the housing market had crashed. So I had two houses that went from being worth less than half of what I paid for them. So a good friend of mine said, "Hey, are you interested in a side hustle?" And my answer was not only yes, but heck yes, show me what to do. And that's how we got started in the direct sales industry. And that's how I got retired early, was out of desperation back then. And I say all that to simply say this: there's a lot of people out there that are begging for an opportunity right now, looking for other ways to make money. And a podcast, it gives you an unfair advantage if you do it right. And it can even help you build your traditional business, because I know most of you are entrepreneurs. So I'll tell you my story. So I moved from Las Vegas to Texas. And you might be saying, well, how did I get to Texas? I Googled, what are the top 10 cities in America to raise a family? Because I had been living in Sin City for 16 years, and I wanted to get the heck out of there. I was just sick and tired of it, of all the crazy, the lifestyle of Las Vegas. And I'm sure probably you guys have visited there. Anyway, 5 of the top 10 on my Google search came back. They were in North Texas. So I told my wife, there's got to be something here. So let's go there. We came to Texas on vacation just like 5 years ago, and instantly fell in love with the people, the culture. I just love it here. And so we've been here now 5 years. And I'm not a native born Texan, but I'm just very pleased to be here now. So that's how we got here. So after I got here, though, I was telling some of my crazy cop stories, and then somebody found out about me and my wife, and they found out that we'd been featured in a Success magazine. This is several years ago. And this lady invited me to come be a guest on her show. And I said, okay. So I go to this studio in Arlington, and I had never done radio. I had never been on a podcast before. Remember, I was a police officer. So I was not that person to be like so outspoken and, talk about my history, because especially now you start broadcasting, you're a cop, you're going to put a bullseye on your back. But anyway, I go there, I do this podcast, and I was just there as a guest. I think I talked for about 20 minutes. And when I was leaving, the producer guy grabs me and he goes, "Mr. Griffin, you need to have your own show." And now at the time I was flattered, and I thought, oh, that's so nice. He really liked my content. I'm sure he was a sales guy, and he was probably trying to get me to rent their studio. And it worked, because he appealed to my ego, and I bought. And I said, sure, I'll try it. And I called my wife and I go, babe, I'm going to do a radio show. She said, what? Like, are you crazy? And then I told her, oh yeah, and it's going to cost somewhere between $400 and $500 a month for me to do this radio show. And she flipped out. She goes, no, but that's crazy. I said, look, I don't know why, but I feel like I need to do this. And so she goes, oh, okay, whatever. So I sign up, I start doing this show. And I was probably doing it for about 9 months by myself in this studio. And then I realized, though, that I wasn't getting a whole lot of ROI, because I started complaining to the owner over there. I go, hey, guys, why is why can't I get my show distributed in other places? Why can't I go, why can't I build my audience a lot faster? Like they always kept saying, well, just send them to my website, send them to my website. And then I realized, aha, I went out, I met with a buddy of mine who was a podcaster, and he started giving me some insight. He goes, the reason why your show's not growing the right way right now, Rob, is because you're allowing those guys to handcuff your content. He goes, let me show you how to do it. He had been doing podcasting for several years. And I said, okay. So I went down, I bought him lunch. He broke it down to me. And once he gave me the knowledge of how to make my show kind of go viral and get people to listen, then that's when I realized I needed to, one, leave those guys, and I would build it the right way. And let me just tell you, I have some slides to kind of illustrate what happened next. And this is the really fun part. And this is also why you guys need to have your own podcast. Let's see, where's my PowerPoint? Oh, that's not it. Stand by, hold on. Okay, here we go. Sorry about that. 1 sec, no technical issue there. Okay, here we go. Okay, so now I decided to build my own studio, and I partnered up with a good friend of mine named Dale Oaks. He lives, out in Rowlett. And so Dale and I decided to build our own, we rebranded the show. We call it the Rob and Dale Show, okay? But more importantly now, I knew how to get distribution. I knew how to get people, I knew how to get my information out to people, which is really the bigger piece here, right? Is let me give you a little education on podcasting and why you need one, okay? These are old stats, folks. Podcasts back in 2017, they had over 112 million users, okay? 67 million Americans listen to podcasts. Again, this is dated information. I would dare tell you now that there's way more than that because of this pandemic. In fact, I would say you could probably almost double these numbers. I don't know if you knew this, but Zoom, the company that we're on right now, just last year, they had 10 million users. Because of COVID and the pandemic, they're up to over 300 million users in just a matter of months because the people are starved for information and to be able to connect remotely, which is also going to fuel the demand for a podcast. Now, podcasts are very easy to consume too. It's like they can access a podcast from this little mini computer that we carry in our pockets. Like your phone gives you access to so many things, but it also gives you tremendous access to podcasts, which is another big thing why people are now doing their own education in their car while they're driving. At least I would dare say the smart ones are. Okay. And it also allows you to connect with your audience on a deeper level. 85% of podcast listeners listen to the entire show. Like how many times are you listening to the radio and listening to an entire show? Most of the time we can't because we're in and out of our cars, or unless of course you're just lucky enough that you have a radio sitting by you at your desk at work. But podcasts, people who consume podcasts, they tend to do it for all types of reasons. So for education, for entertainment, to be informed, and to inspire them. And that's another really cool thing. It also really connects with your audience in a way that you never could before, because you're going to garner their attention for 30, 45, or even maybe an hour, depending on what type of show you choose to produce. I built 2 of them. The first one is called Bulletproof Mindset. The whole idea behind that show is overcoming adversity. So I tell stories of the entrepreneur. Like I'm sure many of you listening to my voice right now, you have an amazing story of how you and your business got started. So I'm going to go ahead and give you an open invitation to anyone who's a member of the Murphy Chamber. If you would like to be featured on my show, let me interview you, tell your story to the world. And by the way, during the introduction, they said 15,000 downloads a month. It's up to about 30 now. So I could have 30,000 plus people here in North Texas hear your story. I don't charge any money for this. I don't collect a dime from my guests on the show. It's simply my way of paying it forward. So if I can get people, if I can send you business, eventually when you know someone who needs what I offer, then you can send them my way as well. Now, you can also have the potential to make money with a podcast as well. And the 4 main ways you do that are obviously advertising and sponsorship. Like when I first started my show, I didn't really know what I was doing. I told, hey, if you sign up with me, in the early days, this is what I told some of my business owner friends. I said, hey guys, if you guys sign up with me now, I'm going to build myself a successful show. I'm going to play your ad in my show every single week, and you'll eventually get a return on your investment. And they said, well, how much are you going to charge? And back then I didn't know. I just guessed. I said, I'll charge $200 a quarter I'll produce a commercial for you. And then what naturally happened, man, I had a lot of these advertisers contacting me and signing up to be an advertiser on my show. And many of them got a tremendous ROI. In fact, one of my main advertisers is a restaurant in Plano. It's called El Norte Mexican Grill. The owner there, his name is Mark. And he signs up with me and he like prepays now. He goes, Rob, just whatever you're doing, man, keep doing it, because I've had tons of customers coming through the door who saying they heard about my restaurant on the Rob and Dale Show, Bulletproof Mindset Show. So advertising and sponsorship is a really cool way where you can augment some of your costs. If you have costs to start your show, it's a really cool way to get your show paid for and for free. In fact, I would tell you, honestly, that if you build your show and if it's not producing some type of income or at least covering its own costs within 3 or 4 months, you're probably doing it wrong, okay? Affiliate marketing is another way. Like if you have a product, or maybe you can even advertise your own product on your show. Like you could be the sponsor of your show, or your company could be the sponsor of your show. And I've had tremendous success with that as well. And like I said, or just selling your own products. And then you'll find some people who just want to donate to your cause, which has been unbelievable. I have had all 4 of these things happen to me in my career. I've been doing the podcasting thing now for 2 years, and it's been a real hoot. But what it has brought me is unbelievable. Like it has completely changed my life. I'll tell you a funny story. So my show's about interviewing entrepreneurs, right? And telling other people's story. And there's one thing I'm gonna tell you, man, you go out of your way and help others. Some people call it karma, but I call it God. It always comes back to you. When you bless others, you will be blessed. And so I had these 2 young men on my show. My goodness, it's like 2 years ago. When I say young, they're in their early 20s, okay? And they were building a virtual reality company. And they were building video games, okay? VR games. And they also were building things for the medical profession where they could help people that were going through physical therapy using virtual reality, okay? So I bring them on as a guest in my show. I had never done virtual reality, had no experience in VR whatsoever. And I thought, man, this is amazing technology. I don't know if you guys have ever tried virtual reality, but it is mind-boggling. It is mind-blowing. And I put the headset on. I'm in this cave with this zombie type creature and it's attacking me. And I pull the headset off. I'm going, oh my God, that realism is so good. I said, have you guys ever considered using this to train the police departments instead of, and they said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, you put me in a cave with a zombie. Couldn't you just as easily put me in a school with an active shooter? Or could you put me in a church with an active shooter? Or on a traffic stop with some bad guys in the car? And they said, well, yeah, we could do that. I said, well, let's do that. So myself and these 2 young men got together, started brainstorming some ideas, and we came up with an idea. It was just a concept. We called it Survivor. So think of the word survivor with a no O at the end so that it ends in VR. And you can go look us up now, survivor.com. Okay, we're a real company. It's crazy. We're a corporation. And we entered it into the Big Idea competition at UT Dallas. They do it every year. There were 264 entries into this competition. We won the entire thing. First place, $30,000 in prize money. We use that money to bootstrap Survivor, the company, and now we are selling simulators into police departments. Like we just installed one at Collin County Sheriff's Department. We just installed one at the Colleyville Police Department. I've sold the Air Force, United States Air Force in Georgia. They bought a big system from us. In fact, I'm flying to Madison, Wisconsin here in a few weeks to install 2 more systems up there. And it all came from a crazy idea because 2 young kids were a guest on my show 2 years ago. Isn't that crazy? Unbelievable how God will bless you if you work hard and you pay it forward. Pay it forward. That's the key here. Now, I can sum up how and why that your podcast will move people into your traditional business with 3 words: ducks, love, bread. And you're probably thinking to yourself, what in the heck is this crazy guy talking about, right? I'm going to illustrate to you. Have you ever gone down to the pond or to a lake and you bring some bread with you and you walk down to the shore and you start pinching off little pieces of bread and you throw it out there for the ducks to see, right? And what happens next? They come and they eat the bread, right? And so that to me, that's advertising to gather sales, right? But what happens though, if I have a loaf of bread and I chase the ducks? Now this is what amateur hour produces, right? People that are out there trying to shove their business down other people's throat, even though they might like or want what you have, if you chase people, if you're that one, that just like noisy bugging people all the time, they will run from you just like the ducks will. Even though they love the bread, they're not going to hang around. They're going to run away. And so when you have a podcast, it's like having nuclear powered bread. Like right now, if I can't see you guys because I got my screen shared, but if I were to ask each and every one of you right now, I have a show that has 30,000 plus downloads a month, free of charge. All you have to do is come to my studio, let me interview you, and I'm going to tell the world all about you and your business. How many of you would want to sign up for that? Like if you could click the little raise hand button in Zoom, then I'd be willing to bet that a lot of you would say, yes, how do I get on your show? How do I get on your show? It was about just a few months ago, I had these two gentlemen fly all the way from Los Angeles, California on their own dime just to be a guest on my show. One of those guys flew here on his own private jet. Isn't that crazy? So think about it like this. If you had a show that was promoting your audience, or think of it like this. I know many of you guys have other clients that are business owners. What an amazing value add you could add for your client. Not only am I going to supply you with my product or my service or whatever it is, I'm even going to bring you as a guest on my show and tell the world all about you. Okay. This gives you a tremendous advantage over your competition, because your competition may be selling to them as well. Your competition may be, giving them a good deal or even a good service, but are they going out of their way to promote that business for them? This is the beauty of the podcast, because everyone loves to talk about their own favorite topic, which is themselves. You bring them in, you put them in a proper studio, you record their episode, you promote them to your audience, and then let them leave said studio, go pick up their smartphone, pull up Spotify, pull up iTunes, and then hear their own voice on your show and you bragging about them. You have just become their favorite person, at least for that day. And they are now going to appreciate you. They're also going to 100% remember you. I think, in fact, some of you may have already been on my show and you know what I'm talking about, right? Ducks love bread. People love being attracted. And when you have your own show, it is unbelievable what will happen for you. Now, you ask yourself, well, can I do this at home? Can I just build a podcast in my living room? And the short answer is, of course. In fact, you can build a podcast. You don't need to build a studio and do all the crazy stuff that I did. I have a good friend of mine in Fort Worth. He does his podcast, no joke, from his master bedroom closet, because that is the most soundproofed room in his house. And he's got a successful following and he's doing well. But the problem with that is I can't imagine trying to bring a guest and have them meet up in your master bedroom closet to do an interview, right? So you have to decide, is my show going to be just me doing a monologue, like some of the talk radio hosts and whatnot, how they do it? But if you're going to be bringing guests in the studio, which is where the real magic happens, then I would suggest you might want to, set something up nice at your office, or rent a studio if you could find one for a low fee. Do not get ripped off like I did for 9 months. And I'll talk more about that here in a second. But the whole idea for the studio and is the ambiance there is to give your guest an amazing experience. You want them to feel like they're legit and in a real studio. And so if you need some consulting or some help setting something up, I'd be happy to help you, okay? But if you want professional quality and sound, it's good to understand the audio and video side of it. And maybe if you're going to do one or the other or both, like in my studio, I do both. We stream simultaneously on Facebook Live while we're recording the podcast that is sent out to all the major distribution. In fact, if I could pull up my chart right now and show you, I have listeners in over 15 countries around the world, which is crazy to me because it's on the web. People can find you all over the world. Super exciting stuff. Now, this is what my studio looks like. And I'm not here to try to sell my studio, guys. I'm just trying to give you an idea. When I was renting my studio over there in Arlington, I was paying those idiots, my God, I was paying them almost $500 a month. And so I said, why am I doing this? I've given these guys thousands. I probably could have just set up my own. So I created my own studio and I built it just for me primarily. But what I realized was it's sitting there empty or vacant 99% of the time, right? So I started renting my studio out for a small fraction of what I used to pay just to help me cover my overhead. And so just to give you an idea, professional studio, professional quality equipment, microphones, gaming PCs running everything that gives you the real deal, okay? But the whole idea here is what good is a show if you do not have distribution? When I was renting from that place, and I probably shouldn't throw them under the bus, so I won't say their name. If you want to know their name privately, you can message me. I'll give you guys my number. But don't go get ripped off. There are people actually, even up here in our part of North Texas, that are grossly overpaying. Like they charge per episode what I was charging per month to rent my studio, just to give you an idea, okay? But the whole idea here is good distribution. The software that we use, that I can teach you to use as well, gives you full distribution on all the major networks. That's the whole key here. Is if you don't have good distribution, you don't really have a show. Even though your content may be good, if people can't find you, that there's a problem. Okay. And if you are renting from somebody else, or if you're going to produce yourself from someone else, are they going to hold your content hostage like this other company did for me? It was such a pain. I had guests on the show. They'd say, "Hey, Rob, can I get a copy of the show?" I go, "Yeah, let me ask them." And I'll contact them. Well, oh, you have to submit a work order. It's going to take a week. Guests don't want to hear that. They want it now. We live in a now generation, right? With the software that I use and I can teach you to use, it literally, you can, as soon as your show's done, with a click of a mouse and a simple email, they would have that copy of that audio or that show in their hand before they even leave your studio, which is really nice, okay? So if they're not letting you fully distribute your show, that's another biggie. And can they integrate into other media? Like I said, we actually do video feed and audio feed at the same time, which is a really cool opportunity. And of course, once you get started, I'm going to tell you guys, it is very, very addicting starting your own show. When I first started Bulletproof Mindset, the Rob and Dale show, that became a really hoot and a real success story, which was really awesome that it grew quickly. One night I was sitting at home with my wife having a glass of wine like we do from time to time. And some of you know my wife, Chica. She's a cute little Japanese girl, okay? And she reaches over and kind of slaps me and she goes, "Babe," she goes, "you need to do a show about drinking." And I'm like, "What?" I'm like, what, because I'm good at it? I mean, what are you trying to say here? And she goes, "No, like an educational show, kind of like what you do for the Rob and Dale show. We can make it fun and informative." And I pulled out a pen and a paper. I started writing down some ideas. I'm like, "Yeah, we'll call it Drinking for Dummies. And we'll make it educational. We'll tell them about, it'll be about how the beer is made, how the whiskey is made, how it proper pairs with food. And of course, and most importantly, retired police officer, how to enjoy it responsibly so you're not driving drunk and that kind of thing, right?" So we wanted to make it fun and informative. And next thing you know, man, that started blowing up. And next thing you know, I had like major alcohol manufacturers contacting me and, "Hey, can you do an episode about this particular beverage?" And then I had other people say, "Hey, Rob, can you come over to my restaurant and film a live live show on location?" I said, "Sure, I can do that." And so next thing you know, I'm traveling around and going to restaurants, and we're bringing a film crew. It got a little crazy. In fact, I had to scale it back a little bit because it was getting too crazy. But Drinking for Dummies was born. So if you want to see something hilarious and a little bit of a different spin, go check out Drinking for Dummies. It's drinking4dummies.com. And then my other show is robanddaleshow.com, which is also a really good segue. So you might be thinking, well, do I need a website? Do I need a fancy, all this stuff to set up my podcast? The short answer is no. A simple one-page website. And I can consult with you guys privately if you want to learn more about what it would take to get your show set up. It's very simple and very inexpensive to do so, okay? But anyway, Drinking for Dummies was born, obviously a fun time. So what we do is we bring on certain beverages. Now, we used to shoot it in studio. I actually had the owner of Buzzballs on my show. You might have seen their billboards around town. Talk about an amazing story. Now, she first showed up on the Bulletproof Mindset show, and I did a story with her there about her rise to success. Her story is unbelievable. She was a school teacher, and she was in her swimming pool one day, and she was having a glass of wine, and she's like, "Oh my God, if I drop this, one, it's going to sink, and number two, it's probably going to break when it hits the bottom of the pool." She says, "I need to get some type of drinking container that will, one, not break, and two, if I drop it, it'll float," right? And so she created this company called Buzzballs, and it's like a wine-based or spirit-based beverage inside a little plastic container. It's got like a little Coke top popper on the top of it. She created Buzzballs. You know that last year they did over $30 million in sales. She's a multi-millionaire now, and she was a school teacher. Talk about the American dream, man. What a cool story. So it's fun. We've done some crazy episodes. We've done wine episodes, tequila episodes, and it's a really good excuse for me just to get free alcohol. It was awesome. Okay, now, I guess what happens next would be, are you willing to go take a chance to go start your own show? Here's a couple of things you're going to need. If you wanted to build your own show, you're going to need to find a cool logo. So get someone who's good at making a logo. You can do it on Fiverr or one of those websites that will help you create a logo. And then come up with a theme. And here's what I would suggest to all of you entrepreneurs. Come up with a theme that would serve your client base. Because think about it like this, guys. When I was building my business back in the day, and still to this day, I'm an energy broker, right? I sell commercial electricity. That's how me and my wife feed our families, is we sell energy. We do other things as well. My VR business, in fact, there's another VR opportunity out there right now, a brand new startup company that's happening. So, but back in the day when I first started this, we were building our business selling commercial energy, right? So I built a show that featured my ideal client. I built a show based on the person I needed to meet with in order to make a living. And I'm gonna tell you folks, what that does for you is tremendous, because now instead of having to chase sales, chase leads, beg people to come sit down with you, I don't have to do that anymore. I have nuclear powered bread. Hey bro, how would you like to come to my studio? Let me tell the world all about you, and they're gonna love you. And then, oh, and by the way, well, how do you make money? Well, I sell electricity. Today is not about a sales pitch. Today is about me helping you. But what naturally happens is they leave. They feel happy that they met you. They feel value that you've given to them. So when it comes down to them deciding to go with this energy company or you or this whatever business and you, they're most of the time going to pick you because you've provided them value. As long, obviously, as the pricing is good and your deal is a good deal, they will almost always go with you. I started getting accounts that I wasn't even trying to get, guys, because of what I did is I simply paid it forward, okay? I don't ever collect money from my guests. I simply promote them. It's going to make them feel special. They're going to love you for it, and it's going to really help you grow your traditional business. Now, like I said, you can look up the websites, robindaleshow.com, drinkingfordummies.com, and I do have a new phone number. My goodness, I haven't changed this PowerPoint in a while. My new phone number, if you're writing right now, it's 214-929-9173. I'll say it again, 214-929-9173. So you're probably thinking, I have a lot of questions. What type of equipment do I need? Should I get a studio or not? It simply depends on if you plan on doing the podcast at your house, or if you or if you're going to be bringing guests. So simply put, like you can literally, like I have a little simple little USB microphone right here that I'm using right now. If all you had was that, a laptop and a decent camera, you could run your entire show from home. But if you wanted to do a professional type setting with professional mics, it was probably worth spending a little bit of money to get a professional studio done. Because if you tried to build what I have built, I mean, it's thousands of dollars by the time you buy all the equipment. So it's probably more cost effective just to lease it from someone. But before you lease from anybody, talk to me, because there's a lot of people out there that just, I hate to say this, but they're taking advantage of people's ignorance and they're ripping them off. Like, it's embarrassing what I've seen, what some people are charging. Like, I've seen some of these podcasting companies here in North Texas, they're charging thousands of dollars a month, which is crazy to me. When you could literally do it for free at home, or for near free at home, or for next to nothing by renting my studio. And the only reason why I say that is because my studio is not how I make a living. It's sitting there today, probably empty right now. And so I figured if I can help someone else get their show started for a very cheap price, then I'm willing to do that, because it's collecting dust otherwise. So I covered a lot of information, but I also wanted to give you guys plenty of time for Q&A. I'm sure you might have a few questions, so I'll shut up now. And Julie, I'll let you kind of direct who does what and who asks what.
Thanks, Rob. Yeah, so now's the time. We have plenty of time for questions. Does anyone want to ask something specific to Rob regarding what he talked about or anything else? There's plenty of time, so go ahead and open up the floor.
I have been on Rob and Dale show. I was at your grand opening and met a lot of really cool people. Would you talk for just a second about W's podcast?
Well, yeah. So W. Tucker, what's it called? He built a show, which I find hilarious. He's not even a police officer. He was actually a retired actor, and he built a show called The Sound of Crime. If that's something like that. He highlights criminal things, and it's so funny you say that, Gene, because I'm the one that trained W and got him started in podcasting. He started with me, and now he's actually got a successful show. So he started with my studio, and then he outgrew it quickly, and it was awesome. So I applaud him. He's out there doing some really cool things. So he went from, granted, I know he sells insurance, but he went from doing big time insurance, and now he is really going, he's like all in on his podcast, and he's actually doing really well there. So W is one of my students that started out as a caterpillar, and now he's a butterfly, and I'm so proud of him. Oh, someone just hit a little question in chat. Okay. What kind of mic is needed? Oh, good question. Okay, so it depends. There's a couple different types of mics out there. You have your USB mics. Like, this is a low level, entry level mic. It's called the Snowball. And they have a snowball white, a snowball blue, basically levels of quality. And for little stuff like this, the snowball is really good for Zoom meetings and stuff like that. But to produce a professional show, you might want a little bit of a higher grade microphone. But I'm sure you guys can probably hear me just fine. But there's other things like noise reduction and things like that when people, and I have kids and wives and stuff going on in the background, that you might can hear some of that too. So there's two types. There's the USB mics, and then we have condenser mics that need a preamp. So the ones that I use in my studio, they're professional grade studio mics with a preamp, which means they have to have power sent to it so that it works. And if you don't understand how their microphone is basically a reverse speaker. Same type of technology, but they reverse everything. So it picks up sound instead of produces out sound using electronical impulses. And so there's if you were deciding what type of show you're going to do it and where you're going to do it, based on the room and the setting, I might recommend USB or I might recommend condensers. I guess that we would need to see where you're setting up. And then you also have to understand the dynamics of audio, right? Like right now, I'm in my living room. And so this is not the most opportune place to record audio because I have glass here, I have drywall here, and I don't have any type of acoustic foam in here to minimize bounce and those type of things. So those are little things that once you figure out, hey, I'm going to set it up over here, and and keep in mind, I'm not going to charge you guys money. If you want me just to come take a look at what you're doing and see what you're doing, I'd be happy to give you some free advice. Any other question? And you guys are an easy audience.
Another question came in, Rob. I'll read it. How often is typical for a new episode to drop, and how far in advance do you recommend having content prepared? For example, do you have 2 months of content lined up? Is it more fluid?
Okay, so the norm in the podcasting world is once a week. The average show length is about a half an hour. I mean, I made a lot of mistakes in the early days because I didn't know what I was doing. When I first started my show, I was doing a 2-hour show once a week. And granted, I had a pretty good following, but I noticed that my listeners would never make it to the end of the show, like because life would happen or something, and they would get cut off. So I redid my entire format when I partnered up with Dale, and I chopped my audio to 30 minutes, and in an extreme case, maybe 45, but I never go beyond that. And so once a week, I would say, and I would even say sometimes less is more. 10 to 15 minutes or 30 minutes would be ideal, depending on what your target audience is. But the once a week is pretty much an industry standard. And then the bigger picture here, though, guys, is distribution. If you're not on all the major platforms, then you're making a mistake. There's some software that you buy, that I don't sell. I don't make money selling it. it's just the company that I use. It's kind of like I'm using Windows. I think Windows is good. You should try Windows, but I don't get paid on Windows. There's a website out there called Spreaker. It's Spreaker. So think of the word speaker with an R thrown into it, Spreaker.com, okay? And they have a couple different types of memberships you can use. And that's the software that we use to distribute our show. There's a free version that sucks. Don't use that. It won't work. It will not get you what you need, okay? There's a couple different levels. There's one you can pay $8 a month that will allow you to produce up to a 45-minute show a week, which it will be fine for some people. And then there's the one that I use. It's called the broadcaster account. I pay, I think, $20 a month, but it gives you plenty of bandwidth, plenty of storage, and it allows you to distribute everywhere. And more importantly, it allows you to track your stats and your distribution. Like right now, if I had my Spreaker account pulled up in front of me, I could show you all my downloads I had last month and who's listening from where and how. Like it tells me even from the city. Like that's how do you know you have listeners in 15 countries? Because it gives me a report. The bulk of my listeners are in North Texas, and I can show you, it's well over 20,000. It's almost 30,000 per month. And it even says like X amount are in Dallas, X amount are in Allen, X amount are in Murphy, X amount are over here. And so it breaks it all down to you. And then if you dig a little deeper, it'll tell you how and where they're getting me. They're getting me on iTunes, or they're going to my website, or they're listening to me on Spotify. So it breaks all that down. And if you pay a little extra money, which I don't, because I don't really need to go more deep, it'll even give you the demographics. Are they male? Are they female? How old are they? And so if you want me to show you how to use all this stuff, I'd be happy to maybe set up a private Zoom so I could show you guys at a different time if you wanted to see how you break it all down and how you track everything.
Hey, Rob, I have a quick question.
Yes, please.
As far as the cost concerned, is it just primarily just for equipment as far as money that you spend for a podcast, to do a podcast show?
For the most part, Mako, yeah, it's so obviously you need the equipment once, and then the subscription for the software that helps you to distribute your show.
Okay.
And so, I have friends of mine. They're like, "Hey, well, I want to just set one up at my house. What do I need?" And I said, "Here, I'll help you out. I'll meet with them for 30 minutes. We'll go get a coffee, and I'll say, hey, you're going to need this, this, and this, and this. And if you need help hooking it up, I'll be happy to help you." So once you get the equipment and you get your software, that's really all you need if you don't plan on doing the whole studio thing.
Is it both audio and visual, or are there podcasts just audio podcasts?
So good question. So when you listen to a podcast, 99% of the time, they're audio only. That's why microphone quality and sound environment are so important, because if it sounds bad, you're going to lose your people, even if you had good content. So that's why how you set it up is important. Okay. But there are other shows that they also record it, because what you'll see a lot of times, like think of like the most popular podcast in the world right now is the Joe Rogan Experience. You guys know who I'm talking about when I say Joe Rogan. Okay.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, that's okay. So Joe Rogan used to be the host of Fear Factor. Anybody remember Fear Factor? The TV show where they ate like all this disgusting stuff and did all, anyway, okay. And then he became the host of one of the talk hosts for the UFC. And now he's a prominent voice for the Ultimate Fighting Championship, that thing. He started his own podcast a few years ago, and he started gathering a big following. Now his podcast is not for the children, a lot of colorful language, a lot of really bad references and bad things they do on that show, okay? But it's very entertaining at the same token. So, and he's had everybody on there, like he had Elon Musk on there recently, and he was, hitting some while they were on the show, which is pretty entertaining that they had a billionaire on his show doing that. And but anyway, he just got an exclusive deal through Spotify. Spotify paid Joe Rogan $100 million for him to go exclusive on Spotify. And of course, he signed that contract. So you never know where your show might take you. Like my show's made me a lot of money, and I wasn't planning on doing it. I was just trying to do it as a hobby. But it's got me a nice little side income now and it's fun. So hope that answers your question.
Mm-hmm.
Another question came through. How far out do you record your broadcasts?
Okay, that is a great question. So that's the beauty of Spreaker. Okay, the software that I use, it allows me to pre-record if I need to. Like for example, I do my shows. I started doing the shows on Friday, but now we do them on Monday. I'm getting ready to go out of town. Like I'm flying to Vegas in about a week and a half, and I'm going to be not here. So what I can do is I can go in there and I can pre-record the content, and I can schedule it to air at whatever time I want. And so let's just say you're going on, some European vacation and be gone for a month. Go into your studio or wherever you're set up. You can record 4 shows, schedule them all to go, and then go on your trip and not worry about it. Because here's another thing that's important. Just like in business, in podcasting world, you have to be consistent. If your show is inconsistent, you will lose your audience. Because think about it like this. I bet most of you have a favorite TV show or something that you enjoy and you look forward to once a week. True or not true, right? I like certain things, and when I can't wait for the new one to come out, right? What if you went to go there and it wasn't there? Like that would be upsetting, right? And so the whole idea would be to be consistent. And so that's the beauty of the Spreaker software. It allows you to literally pre-record and air it whenever you want. Oh, someone just asked, are most podcasts listening to 2 people, having someone to interview? Most, yes, but not all. There are a lot of them. I've actually done shows with no guests at all. Like, being a retired cop, I've been getting a lot of heat lately. Man, we have some evil people out there. I've been getting a lot of heat lately. And this one guy was like attacking me on social media. And he was angry at me because I had not gone public on my Facebook feed about George Floyd being murdered, right? And so I said, well, all right, I'll address this. So I did probably the most downloaded episode I've done so far is I did my take on the George Floyd situation a couple weeks ago. If you haven't listened to it yet, if you want to hear a cop's perspective, go to robindaleshow.com. It's the second or third one down. I think it's episode 116 or 117, something like that. And That one's been getting downloaded like crazy, man. But anyway, so most do invite guests, but that show we didn't have a guest. We just did it ourselves. So it doesn't matter, up to you. Like some people just do a show about current events, and that way you don't need to fill your calendar with guests. But the whole reason why I did it with guests is so it puts people in front of me so I can network. Like it gives you unbelievable advantage over those people that are out there trying to book appointments, because the people want to come to me. I don't have to chase them. So that's the beauty of the podcast. It gives them the desire to want to meet with you instead of the other way around. Anything else, guys?
Any other questions for Rob today? Oh, it looks like Sammy.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Sammy.
When you have someone that you're going to be talking with, do you have questions set, preset to ask them, and how do you know what to ask them to provoke the conversation?
Great question. This is very important, Sammy. You just you helped me help these guys a lot. Okay, so you need to, once you decide whatever your show's going to be about, like I don't know what everybody here does for a living. I know Jean, I know what she does, but I don't know what everybody else does. But what I would suggest is come up with a format so that you don't have to figure that out every week. So like if you were coming on my show next week, and so by the way, I'm booking out July. If you guys want to get in on the show on July, free of charge, text me, okay? 214-929-9173, okay? And so anyway, you need a format to follow so that you don't get lost and you don't get off on these crazy tangents. So for those of you who are going to be on my show in the future, here's the format. I open the show and I talk about, we start with a short monologue. And this is just something Dale and I developed. You don't have to do this, but we start with a short little monologue because our show is about entrepreneurship, leadership, and becoming a better human being. That's what the show's about, right? And then, of course, we factor in there overcoming adversity, okay? So Dale and I will open, or you can open your show, start with a little monologue. It could be about a current event, or what we try to do is we always try to talk about positivity, and we give nuggets of encouragement for people. That's what we do. So Dale does a little research, and we always have a nice little nugget at the beginning. Then we take a little short break. By the way, rule of radio, you want to break your show every 6 to 8 minutes with a little musical interlude, or it could be a great opportunity to play a commercial for your show. If you have some advertisers, 6 to 8 minutes is a good rule of thumb. And then we come back and then we intro the guest. The first question we're going to be talking to you about, let's just say Julie was my guest. I would say, well, Julie, hey, where'd you come from? How'd you get here? Were you a native Texan? Yes or no? And she'll say, no, I'm not. And my whole idea here is I'm just trying to humanize Julie. The guest doesn't know who Julie is. So I make her a person. Oh, I grew up, and I'm just going to guess. I grew up in Ohio, and then I moved here and here, and I went to college over there. And then what'd you do out of college? Did you go get a job? Because remember, I'm telling the entrepreneurial story. And so I talk about who they are and how they ended up right here in North Texas. So that's segment number one. So that's what we're going to cover for you. And since it's your story, you don't need to prepare for that. I do a little Q&A with you. And, the fact that I'm a retired detective gives me an advantage because I know how to ask questions, right? And so now then we take a little short break. We come back, and then we talk about overcoming adversity. Every single one of you have overcome adversity, true or not true. Maybe it was a professional adversity, a personal adversity. We've all had, like many of you may not know, I'm a cancer conqueror. I had cancer a few years ago, and we kicked cancer's ass, pardon my language. And but we beat it, right? And so everyone has adversity, whether it be a health or wellness issue, or business, or just life, right? So I talk about whatever adversity you want to share. And so you decide. It can be professional, it can be personal, and I'm going to ask you the question. Tell me a story about how what you overcame, and we'll discuss this before we go on the air, so it's not a complete ad lib. We'll know what we're going to talk about, okay? And then we'll take a short break. Sometimes we'll throw in a break, sometimes we won't. It depends on how juicy the content is. If there's a good flow happening, I may not interrupt it with a break. I'll tell you, I had Jesse Holly on my show. In fact, he's coming back on again real soon. You guys know who that is? Jesse Holly. He was a Dallas Cowboy. His story is unbelievable. In fact, I'll find what episode it was, and I will get you the number so you can go listen. It will blow your mind. When he was 8 years old, his mom was a drug addict. It was him and his little brother. I think it was 8. No, maybe even younger. I'm going to guess and say it was 8. His mom says, I'm going to the store, and never came back. 8 years old, 5 years old, 2 little boys. Okay. Completely alone. This 8-year-old boy and his 5-year-old brother never missed a day of school. He got up, he got his brother dressed. They walked to school. They walked home. He ate whatever food they had in the house. When they ran out of food, he went down to the grocery store and started bagging groceries for tips at 8 years old. He made some tip money and went and bought food for his brother and himself. And they ate mostly ramen and stuff that an 8-year-old could cook. And they were alone for an entire month. Can you imagine? No washing of clothes, none of that stuff. They wore the same stuff all the time. His story was purchased by Sony. They're going to make a movie about his life. And so that guy was on my show. Are you kidding me, man? Like, it was, and when you listen to the story, like, I didn't interrupt him. I normally, I can't help but interject myself, right? I was quiet. I was just like this, like, keep going, sir. Keep going, sir. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. And you should go listen to it. I'll find out what episode it was. It'll blow your mind. Okay. So it depends on how good the content is. If the content is great, let it go. You don't want to mess it up. Okay. But if it isn't, I would say if it's bad, if it's just normal content and we're getting a good story there, it's good to have a little break. It could be a music interlude, a commercial, and then come back. And then the last piece is where we, meaning myself and Dale, brag about you, your service, your product, whatever, where you are today and where are you headed. Like, if you need medical insurance, I got this girl, Jean, man, she's going to hook you up like you wouldn't believe, right? And so, like, I brag about you. That last segment is your commercial. That last segment is how I bring value to you. And that's what makes your phone ring. So think about what that would do for you servicing your clients. Like, whoever your client is, if you can build them up to make their phone ring, do you think they might appreciate it? I guarantee you they will. And so that's the format I follow. Where'd you grow up? How'd you get here? What adversity you overcame? And then where are you at today and where are you headed? So that's the format I use every single week. And I would suggest that when you're building your show, come up with a format. It doesn't have to be what I did, but I could help you customize it. And then we break it up into a couple segments, and that'll keep you on track when you're producing and doing the show. Let's see. Can you have video going if you want to? The short answer is absolutely. In fact, I strongly recommend getting a good HD webcam. You don't necessarily have to buy a super expensive camera. In fact, the one that I'm using right here on my laptop is a really good one. It is a Logitech C920. It's a high def, really good quality camera that will actually work just fine. You don't need to buy a $1,000 camera. The Logitech C920 is a really good, high quality camera that will work just fine for podcasting. And it has a microphone built into it, but I would not recommend using the mic. Get yourself a good mic. If you're going to invest a little bit of money, that's where you want to spend it. Microphone, mixer, and of course I can guide you. There's entry, like, it's like cars, right? I could buy a car that'll get me from point A to point B, or I can go buy, a Lamborghini. You don't need a Lamborghini to do a podcast, but you don't want, like, insert whatever ghetto car name you want. Don't get that. You want to get somewhere just a little middle of the road. Okay. And I'll help you that. We'll guide you there. And I don't make money selling this equipment. It's just free advice if you want it. Anybody else?
All right. Well, thank you, Rob, for all the information. Great topic and talk, and great questions from the audience. So thank you so much for being on the call today and sharing that information with our members. Sounds like it would be a lot of great nuggets everyone can take back and apply to their own business to see if they can try something new or maybe expand upon something they're already doing. So thank you for that. So at this time, I want to recognize the sponsor of this luncheon, Ed Williamson. Many of you know Ed with Handyman Service Group. He couldn't be on the call today as he had planned, but we just want to thank him for his support for the program. And if you're interested in having any repairs done, Ed and his team do that. And their tagline is, "We make home repairs simple." And Ed's a great contact, so if you want his information and you have any projects or know of anybody, I can get you in contact with Ed. So Ed, thank you for your support for the Chamber programs. If anyone's interested in learning more about sponsorship sponsorship opportunities for any of our programs, please get in touch with me. And I'd love to talk to you about how you can further promote your business through the chamber. Carolyn, did you want to say anything?
No, it's been a really interesting topic. You know, when you talk about the sounds of crime, you know, I'm an insurance agent, and I think, what could I possibly say on a podcast that someone would want to hear? Because insurance is just not the titillating topic that's on the top of everybody's mind. So it is just interesting to hear about the different things that people can do. So thank you.
There's a really cool company out there, guys, called, this is another blessing from God. I tell you, you can't make this stuff up, right? Because of my name getting out there and people recognizing what I do, because I've been teaching law enforcement related classes for years. There's a company out there called VRLU. It stands for Virtual Reality Learning University, and you can actually watch and learn in virtual reality. And so they contacted me, and that's why I'm flying to Vegas in a week and a half. They're going to film my lie detection course I do. I can teach you how to tell if someone's lying, and they're going to film it in virtual reality. So I will be like, you're going to put a headset on, you'll be sitting with me in the interrogation room, and I'm going to be teaching you how to interview and interrogate a person who's being deceptive, how to read body language and micro expressions and all that really cool, fun stuff. So that we're filming in less than 2 weeks. So there's a lot of cool stuff happening, and it all happened because I did something. I started a podcast just as I would challenge each and every way. If you're thinking even a little bit, man, maybe I should do that. The short answer is, of course. I mean, what have you got to lose? It might actually bring you more blessings than you could ever realize. It's completely changed my life, and I highly recommend it. So thanks again for your time and your attention, all of you. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I wanted to recognize some attendees today. Do we have any new members or new attendees? No, we have some new faces. I guess I just haven't seen them. So thank you guys for coming. I think we have some ambassador updates.
Yes, Julia, the co-director of ambassadors for our board, is here to give an update on behalf of the ambassador team.
Thanks, Julie. Yes, I'm Julia Baldwin. I know most of you on the call. For those who don't know me, my business is called Party Wickless, and I'm an independent consultant with Sensi. So I hope your world smell better. And I am excited to just talk a little bit about the ambassadors. The ambassadors are really important to the chamber. They're really the chamber's feet on the ground, and they help with a variety of activities and functions. And we appreciate the help they provide to the chamber staff. I know Julie probably couldn't do, we already overload her, and the ambassadors are able to help take a little bit of weight off of Julie's shoulders. They also provide a mentoring aspect for the general membership. And each month, we would like to highlight an ambassador on our team for all that they do. And this month, I'm very pleased to recognize Sherry Searcy as our ambassador of the month. Sherry is with L&M Personal Assistant. And Sherry's been an ambassador for the chamber for many years. I don't even know how many, but a long time. And she's always willing to lend a hand with the chamber activities. And recently she helped with a member outreach initiative to connect with our local businesses. And we really appreciate Sherry. And a small token of appreciation will be mailed to you. So, thank you, Sherry.
Thank you.
Thank you. And also, I want to highlight a couple other ambassadors are on the call as well. Linda Yo and Rayanne Kane are also ambassadors for our chamber. So thanks again for all you do. We appreciate you. So with that, that really closes our program for today, but it was great to see you all here on the call. It was a great turnout, great speaker. I know it's not in our usual room and format that we do, but we have to do the best we can right now. And at least we can all see your faces, and we're so thankful for technology. And thank you, Rob, again, for just pointing out how we can leverage technology to help us right now, even more than ever with our businesses. So thanks, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon and the rest of your week. And join us on Thursday morning if you can for our weekly networking online as well.
Thanks, Rob. Really enjoyed it.
Thanks, guys. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks,
I'll talk to you soon. I got your text, those who texted me, and we'll be in touch, okay? Take care, guys.
Sounds great.